I should say also that I do make it extra hard because we have scruples, and one of them is that all of the pig, as much as possible, should be turned into food, including the head. And that's why I think of the gun itself as the rifle that I deliver the death with. I think of that as a culinary instrument, not a imprecise bludgeoning instrument. So
Right.
you could shoot a pig more easily with a large round, right? And that would kill the pig indeed. And in some, depending on the size of the round, you could shoot a pig in the head in the most general sense, and at the very least completely knock it out just through the trauma of the bullet. And so a lot of guys will use a 223 round, which is a shouldered cartridge. It's got lots of power. It breaks the sound barrier, I'm pretty sure, out of a normal gun. So it's really loud. It's really high velocity. And if you shoot a pig in the head with that thing, like, even if you miss the brain, you're going to fracture the skull completely in many places, which will completely incapacitate the pig. But it also means your head cheese is off the cards, mostly.
Or even using a lot of the head for
Like
stock.
guanciale, yeah. And it depends. It's situational. But, with the fragmenting of a skull, you get bone fragments shot everywhere. You get bloodshot meat, huge veins of blood all throughout the head. And so it really destroys the culinary value. But if you use a 22 Magnum, which is what I recommend, and that is what I use, or a 22 WMR, that is a precision instrument. But the trade-off is you must hit the brain. And I would say that is one of the commonest errors when it comes to pig killing, is shooting the pig in the head. No, don't shoot the pig in the head. Pig has a big head. Shoot the pig in the brain. And people ask me, is the pig knocked out or is it dead? And the answer is yes. They're not recovering from a bullet to the brain. They're very dead. And insofar as you are unconscious when you're dead, that's what happens when you shoot a pig in the brain. And it's, for that reason, a precision instrument, which means your target is about the size of a golf ball, which, if you're close, is not that small. The problem is that a pig's head is a moving target. Pigs, more than any other livestock. Cows are probably the easiest to kill because they hold still. And even at their fastest, let's face it, cows are slow-moving, lumbering beasts. You can pick the most commodious spot on the fence line and just rest your rifle, and provided the cow isn't too far away, they will just face you and they will hold perfectly still. A pig is going to be wondering, why don't you bring breakfast? They're going to be kind of yelling at you, vocalizing, going back and forth along the fence line, like, what's going on? Once they get bored of you and notice that you haven't brought breakfast, they're just going to start rooting, There's very few things in a pig's daily schedule that involves the stillness of its head, which is your target. So all of those things make the shot particularly difficult, because I know that there's lots of cases wherein you could say, well, it's actually no problem, but you just shoot the pig in the head. I just get my hunting rifle out. It's like, well, yeah, but let's assume some of the scruples that you might put upon yourself. Smallest round possible, complete holistic harvest, and one death per bullet, an absolute unquestionable kill shot. And when you take on those burdens, then the kill is actually quite tricky. And I would say it is the trickiest of all livestock that you would dare to harvest.
Okay.
The shooting of a pig. It requires, it's not the trickiest. I would say it requires the most patience, the most self-possession.
Right.
I use jacketed hollow points.
Okay.
The idea being that it's kind of a compromise between the full metal jacket, which you will usually likely find in the shoulder, like in the Boston butt, or frequently with the trajectory that I'm going to tell you to use, you'll find it in the spinal cord, in the spine. But the jacketed hollow point goes further. You get deeper penetration. So you definitely hit the brain. Yeah. But the full metal jacket will do that. The jacketed hollow point, I think, in my experience, it retains enough structure to blast through what can be 3/4 of an inch of skull.
Okay.
And then it mushrooms and splits usually into 2 or sometimes 3 parts within the brain cavity of said pig. And so all that to say, 22 WMR, jacketed hollow points. And I have a bolt action. It's a Savage. It's the most affordable 22 WMR that showed up that day at Cabela's when I got it. And I have abused it in every possible conceivable manner. It is filthy. It's been washed once in the 5 years that I've been using it, or more, 6, 7. And it was oiled once, which is reprehensible. I know. I'm sorry, and I need to stop that. But I do run a what's it called? A rifle snake. It's basically cloth with a little brass knob at the end that gravity will pull down through the barrel, and then I can draw the rest of the thicker cloth through it, and it dusts out the barrel. So it really just cleans the barrel. But, I've had pigs in their death throes kick mud on it and all kinds of stuff. And it's really dependable, and it works well. Granted, I'm not taking launch shots.